Hey gang, I want to talk today about the mass shootings that have been going on in this country for the last 50 or 60 years. And how we might be able to survive them. I don't want to pretend to know how to solve all the world's problems. I just want to give you guys some ideas, some techniques and tactics that might help all of us to survive one of these horrific events if it happens again or it happens to you. I believe today more than ever the LGBTQ community may become a target once more for one of these sick people. The messages of hate and intolerance coming from our administration have and will embolden more mass murderers, and we can't stop it. I believe, however, that we can survive it. Sure, if you want to go to work on gun control, go right ahead. Godspeed. But that is not going to help you today or next month or next year if you run into one of these evil, cowardly people. I do not believe that we will ever see the day when guns are not a part of our society. So I'm going to work around them. Gun control and mass murder control are not the same issue, but they do go hand in hand. So, in keeping with my ideas of how to survive one of these things, I just want to give you an idea of an order that I'm going to try to do it. I want to work backwards from the point of contact with one of these crazy, sick people, backward to ways that we may be able to prevent these things from happening in the future. Now, if you've seen any of my safety videos, you know that I'm a big fan of situation awareness, and I try to practice it all the time. It's not hard to learn, and it is very effective in keeping people safe. Whatever you might think. You can get a book on it. You can watch my videos on it. You can take a class in it. You can find somebody to help you learn it. But it's simply making yourself aware of what's going on around you at all times, and not, and it would be great in a perfect world if we could wander around aimlessly texting and talking on our phones and not paying attention to anything that's happening around us. But that's not this world. That's not this country. That's not this planet. Okay? No one's ever going to be able to guarantee you safety. You're responsible for your own safety. So you have to pay attention. And I think it's only going to get worse. I mean, it hasn't gotten any better. 250 of these shootings so far this year. And what they classify a mass shooting as is 4 or more people being shot. Over 250 times already this year. And we're just starting August. Now, situation awareness, okay? Anywhere you go, if it's a venue, if it's a nightclub, if it's a concert, if it's a party, wherever, find all the exits when you get there, okay? The main reason for this is 99% of the people there won't be trying to find all the exits, and they'll only remember one entrance when a catastrophe strikes. And so they'll all try to get out that one entrance. We've seen it time and time again in these catastrophes, in fires, and in mass shootings. People pile up at the door that they came in because that was the only training they had. Make yourselves aware of all the exits. At work, make yourself aware of all the exits at work. And take a walk to each one of them periodically throughout the week, and just get that ingrained in your mind so you can think of it when you need to. Have a plan, okay? Secondly, have a plan. Once you've found all the exits, you're with your friends, just make a quick plan. This is what we're going to do if something bad happens, and that's it. And then you don't spend any time looking for them, because this video isn't about how to be a hero. It's about how to stay alive. Keep a watchful eye wherever you're at, okay? This is not paranoia. It's just simply maintaining your situation awareness and paying attention and looking. If you see something that doesn't feel right or is out of place, point it out to management, point it out to someone, or just get away from the person, okay? Creating distance is the best and most effective way to stay safe when we're dealing with human threats. Okay. 98% of the people involved in mass shootings said that at first they thought the gunfire was balloons or fireworks going off, because your brain does not want to believe that you are a victim of a mass shooting. So it will come up with all different other rationales for what that noise is, until you realize the inevitable. You can't avoid it for too much longer. Oh, it's gunfire. Now what do? I don't have a plan. And we know where that leads to. If you hear balloons popping or fireworks going off, you need to tell yourself it's gunfire. I need to get to one of those exits. I need to get out of here. Do not hinder your ability to gather information during one of these events. If you do what instinctively most people will do and crouch and get low to the ground, you've lost your ability to gather information. You may not know where the shooter is. If he's not shooting, he may be moving right to you and you won't know it. You need to act on your plan and move your body and keep it moving and stay on your feet and keep your eyes looking around and gather information. If you have to hide in a room, this would be a last resort. If you have to hide in a room, and you can't find anything in the room to barricade the door with, okay, then your mindset has to be that's where you're going to make your stand, and you got to be ready to fight, because you're trapped in the room. So if he comes into that room, you've got the tactical advantage because he doesn't know where you're at, and he's about to put him and his gun right next to you. You got to wait by the door and be ready to fight. Otherwise, you're just going to be another victim in that room. Hopefully, you'll be able to find something you can barricade it with, but in a bathroom, in a nightclub, there's not going to be anything there. If the doors open out, they may not have handles on them on the inside. There's not going to be any way you can tie it closed or that. So, hiding in a bathroom has worked for a lot of people in these events, but I think they were lucky. Okay. The shooter is looking for victims. He expects victims. He doesn't expect anyone to fight back. And so he's going to stay where the most targets are. So if you hide in a bathroom, he may not ever get to that bathroom. But if he does, that's where you're going to have to make your stand, because you're all out of options. Concealed carry, I guess that's your privilege in most states, if you want to add more guns to the situation. But I got to tell you, I'm probably going to hurt some feelings here, but most people do not train enough with their firearms, with their handguns, to be able to make surgical hits on an active threat with innocent people running around under that kind of stress. It's difficult for a Navy SEAL, okay? If you can do that, then great. But once again, this video is not about being a hero. It's about keeping you safe. Now let's see if we can work it backwards here a little bit. There's been thousands of mass shootings since 1966 in this country, and there was a few before that, but we don't really look back at those. A lot of that stuff was gangland. We know the motivation behind it. Innocent people with, not related to the shooter at all, weren't involved typically in those kind of shootings, but they became more prominent in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and now it's just, it seems like the trend, the thing to do. We have profiles. You can profile these folks, okay? But people won't. The politicians aren't going to pass gun control legislation because the majority of the United States wants to have their guns, and they'll vote these people out. They've done it. They've recalled politicians just because they wanted to ban capacities of magazines for guns. Okay? This is not something that a politician wants to touch because they know it's not a popular thing. No matter how strongly you may feel about gun control, there's not enough people voting out there for it. These politicians don't care about how many people die. They only care about how many voters are left to vote for them. The proof is in the pudding. It's here. We see it all the time. There's no other reason. Our Second Amendment, and there will be a video on that coming down the pike. 90% of mass shooters have suffered from mental health issues that people know about. Okay? They all suffer from mental health issues that people don't know about, but 90% of them people know about those mental health issues and don't do anything, but it doesn't red flag them. Most of these people were abused as children. They were bullied as children. Maybe one of their parents committed suicide, or both of their parents committed suicide. They were neglected. They suffered domestic violence, or they watched domestic violence, and they became depressed. Most of them suffered from depression at some point in their lives, and probably are suffering from it when they pick up the gun. Anxiety issues, and a lot of these guys have attempted suicide, and they talk about it, or they're talking about wanting to commit suicide. And other people know it, but they don't see them. They don't want to believe that they could possibly be a harm to others. So you have all these mental health issues in a person, but you still need an impetus for what they want to do. A crisis in their lives. Maybe their girlfriend or their spouse leaves them. Maybe they lose their job. Maybe they get a different job. They get demoted. Or they're emasculated in some way, or they feel emasculated in some way by someone or some group. And they may begin to make threats that people can hear. They may start making a list of people they want to kill. Most of these shooters study prior shootings and other shooters. And there may be hundreds of these people right now planning or thinking about doing those shootings, committing one of those crimes in the United States, killing people, but they haven't had that crisis in their lives to give them the impetus to do it. And when they see it done, that spurs them on to go ahead and play out their plans. And that's why we see these things oftentimes in clusters within days or weeks apart. Okay, so now we know kind of what to look for in a potential mass shooter. 80% of school shooters got their guns from a family member because they weren't properly locked up. Most of the workplace violence or the workplace shooters bought their guns legally. And then the rest of the guys got them illegally somehow because they had crimes. They couldn't buy them legally, so they got them illegally. Once again, killers expect victims when they show up. They don't expect people to fight back. They don't have a contingency plan for that. So maybe if we have more armed guards at these venues, a greater presence of armed security, this would hinder or scare away the mass shooter, because now they see that there's fighters there, and not just victims. Maybe we could have more metal detectors. You know, all of these things are going to infringe upon all of our civil rights, just like what happened after 9/11 when we had to stiffen up security at the airports, and people were upset about it. But you know, you got to do certain things. You got to break some eggs every once in a while to make an omelet and to keep people safe. You got to do certain things that hinder their liberties. You know, maybe we could pass laws that say you have to store your guns a certain way so that your kids can't get to them, or any unauthorized person can't get to them. I mean, that's firearm safety 101. No one should ever be able to touch your gun but you. Red flag laws. You know, our president's talking about them now. He's on that bandwagon. After he did away with Obama's mandate for you know, keeping an eye on people with mental health issues who want to buy guns, he got rid of that one. But now he's like in red flag laws, which are basically the same thing. We got to stop giving these guys their notoriety. They're doing this for their 15 minutes of fame, and they're doing this to give the next shooter something to plan with and something to shoot for. No pun intended. No fame for these guys at all. Hey, you know, we can limit violent content on social media. We can stop sharing all these hateful messages and things like that. They get around and you never know who's seeing them or what you're doing to somebody who's messed up inside, and their brain's not thinking straight, and they can be angry. I mean, we all know people that get angry on Facebook, right? And Instagram and Twitter when somebody posts something that they think is hateful or against them. Most shooters are suicidal. Most of these guys are suicidal. And other people know about this. They know about this depression. You know, but we gotta, instead of denying that there's something wrong with these guys, we gotta step up and we gotta get them some help before they pick up the gun. That's something for smarter people than me to figure out how we can do that. But I know we got to help kids who suffer from domestic violence. We got to get them help immediately. We have to, so that they can work through it in a healthy manner and not keep it bottled up. We know so much about the commonalities of these mass shooters. There's got to be something that we can do to help them, to help future ones. And our leaders can start condemning stuff and condemning this stuff and condemning hate speech and condemning bigotry. They should be setting an example for the rest of us. And they could start by getting the name of the city where these events occur correct the next time they tell those residents how they feel. Love and peace to all, and let's just try to accept one another for who they are.